Ian Robinson, what is going on? Oh, damn, it's 1 o'clock already. It still feels like it's morning. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Um, it's your boy Lincoln Clay, the ageless wonder, the godfather of gaming. You know what to do, hit the bell icon, hit the like button, the rest will take care of itself. If you're a new subscriber, welcome aboard. And so I want to start out by saying that I am dealing with internet outages in my area. So there could be a possibility that this podcast could abruptly come to an end. Hopefully that won't be the case. I was experiencing the outages last night. That's part of the reason why I was. But the biggest reason why I was not streaming last night, I definitely would have forewarned everybody that if you are over 40 years old and you have a busy day ahead of you, do not start your day off playing games like Beat Saber, Creed, what have you. Because after you get done playing those games, if you lay down and shut your eyes for about 5 seconds, your night is over. So, and that's basically what happened to me yesterday. I played Beat Saber for about an hour. It was my intentions to come back with another stream. I laid down, closed my eyes for what I thought would be about 5 minutes. And when I woke up, it was about 5 in the morning, and so from there, I'm surfing YouTube looking for videos to watch, and then that's when I started experiencing the internet outages. And so that was that. So I wasn't able to do any additional streams last night. So half of it's my fault. The other half is my internet provider's fault, as I'm experiencing outages, and it still says it right now when I check the status of it. They're still experiencing outages. So like I said, don't be surprised if this stream gets cut off. So, and also want to address yesterday in the PlayStation Plus podcast group, the Twitter group, people were asking Sick if there was going to be a PlayStation Plus podcast this morning, and he said there wouldn't be because he's working a lot of crazy hours right now, and he said he probably wouldn't be able to fire the podcast up until mid-February or March. And so today on YouTube, he gave a quick update that because of his career and his music and stuff, that he won't be firing the PlayStation Plus podcast up again until March. So, we got our priorities. I definitely understand, because you guys, heard me hollering for the last couple of days that I got to get my priorities in order as well, moving forward into 2019, because working a lot of hours and YouTube has caused me to, lose focus in the gym. I haven't been in the gym the way I'm supposed to. All in all, 2018 has not really been a good year in terms of me going to the gym. I've had my moments where I got in there, got my focus back, and then lost it again. So, and I have to keep reminding myself that, at 51 years old, they talk about muscle memory and all that kind of stuff, but at 51 years old, you never know when your body's not going to respond to this stuff. I'm not going to look this way forever. And there's going to come a point where, I'm going to lose strength. There's going to come a point where no matter how hard I work out, I just won't get back what I used to be, Nothing serious happened to him, Spartan God. He's working a lot of hours, and he's dealing with his music. And so because of that, Um, he won't be back, with the PlayStation Plus podcast until March. So yeah, everything's fine with him. He's just working a lot of hours. Like I said, between work and his music, that's where his priorities are. So, but he'll be back in March. And so actually, as crazy as that sounds, and this is not meant as a disrespect or anything like that, but in a way that kind of works out for me a little bit because as I was telling you guys before, I had to figure out, how I'm going to have the perfect balance between YouTube and the gym because I love them both. And I don't want one of them, to take precedence over the other. I want to be able to have be able to split it right down the middle. And it was going to have to be some kind of compromise because, I'm committed to the roundtable twice a week. I'm committed to the PlayStation Plus podcast on Sunday mornings. And then there's the possibility that I could be joining the Gamer Couch podcast with Foxy, assuming he does that on Sundays. So that was going to be a lot of podcasts, and that wasn't going to leave a lot of time for me to do my own podcast during the week. Especially with me getting back into the gym because I want to be able to go to the gym about 3 times a week. So that wasn't going to leave a lot of time. What's up, buddy? So like I said, that was going to put me in a situation where I was probably going to have to scale back on my own podcast. As far as the gaming podcast goes, I don't think much is going to change there because I was saying that I can, I can finish my night off on the days that I go to the gym. I can finish my night off with Beat Saber streams, Creed streams, because that's my way of getting my cardio in and still having fun doing it because treadmills are boring as fuck. If you work out the way I did, 4 or 5 times a week, 2-3 hours each time I go into the gym, and then still try to do do cardio on a treadmill on top of that, you would virtually live in the gym. I love working out, but I don't want to live in the gym. So Spartan God, yes, that's is where I'm going with this. I think at least until Sick gets back, I think I can do that. I think I can do a Sunday morning podcast. So, I'm not the PlayStation Plus podcast, and I'm not going to try to be, but I think, oh, wow. I'm really sorry to hear that. That's, getting shocking news like that. We're having internet problems right now, buddy. So if you try to play something, I don't know if it's gonna shut off on you or not. I mean, you could try, but we'll see what happens.
I'm using the Ethernet cord.
Hmm?
I'm using the Ethernet cord.
The internet problem is coming from Comcast, not us. Okay, so yeah, Spartan God, that's kind of where I'm going with that. I think what I'm looking at doing is having a Sunday morning podcast, maybe for an hour and a half. And then I think what this podcast will be about is doing a recap of all the events that happened that week. And, I'll just go through the headlines of what happened that week. And then you guys chime in on, what you think, how you feel about that, the headlines that happened that week. And that'd be a good way for both of both me and all of you to stay involved and keep it rolling. So at least until Sick gets back, that's what I'm looking to do. When Sick gets back, if I continue to do this podcast, it will happen at an hour where I'm not bumping heads. Well, I can't do it if I'm going to be back on the PlayStation Plus podcast. So it'll have to be at a time where maybe I'm doing it before or after the PlayStation Plus podcast. But and there isn't going to be any specific time when I do these podcasts.
Where's the TV remote?
It's over there somewhere. It might be on the floor or something in front of the couch. There's not going to be a specific time when I do these podcasts. Basically, it's going to happen when I wake up. Yeah, that's definitely some more content for us right there. The Gamer Couch podcast. Give me a second, folks. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, folks. We had a report of a missing TV remote. I had to go find it. So that's what we're looking at right there. I think until Sick gets back, I think that's going to work for me to do a Sunday morning podcast. Like I said, I can't commit to a time. It's basically whenever I wake up. Skyfall, what's up? So it could, the podcast could happen as early as 8 in the morning. It could be as late as 1 o'clock. It all depends on when I wake up. Sunday's my recovery day. And once I get back into the gym, Sunday is definitely going to be the day where I need my rest, and it has to be uninterrupted. I can't have an alarm clock screaming in my ear and shit like that. So I'll just do it when I get up. So, so I think I, got the point across there. And so that's what we're looking at right now. Doing the roundtable twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. We'll see what happens with the Gamer Couch podcast. We'll see how what Foxy has in mind, and then go from there. And I still want to be every now and then. I still want to make an appearance on 60 frames. If that's okay with Porter Rock. The RGT podcast with Ryan. I still want to make those kind of guest appearances. So new podcast PSVRP. As much as I would like to do that, Spartan God, I don't think 400 and something people want to hear strictly PSVR stuff, so this Sunday morning podcast will basically, like I said, be a recap of everything that happened during the week. Because there's never a shortage of news, and then when you got these greedy ass third-party publishers, doing egregious shit, whenever they do something, it isn't something that just like disappears after a couple of days. Some of the shit can drag on for weeks. I mean, look at Bethesda. They cannot stay out of the news. I mean, they've been the top headlines ever since Fallout 76 got released. They've been the biggest headlines so far. So, but make no mistake, Spartan God, I definitely will talk about VR stuff, because I still love virtual reality. Virtual reality could be strictly about games, since gaming is the virtual world and reality is what's going on in gaming. That sounds like some Confucius shit. Confucius say virtual reality and virtual are the same. Yeah. Oh God, Skyfall Gaming. My rest days will be the weekends for sure when I start back to CrossFit. Exactly. I mean, to me, that's the weekends are for recharging your battery. The weekends are for enjoying yourself. So, but yeah, without a doubt, Spartan God, I'm definitely gonna work some VR stuff in there because you know I'm giving Sony that free work. I mean, even virtual reality as a whole, they getting that free work from me because I'm constantly promoting them. I promote VR in general, but mostly PlayStation VR because they've given us an affordable avenue for virtual reality. So definitely they go get the praises from me. So because right now with virtual reality, there's more good about it than negative. And I think with
I'm so close to your DVR.
I think there's a game for just about every genre out there. So in my opinion, if you want to escape the bullshit of third-party developers, if you want to escape the third-party developers with their crazy ass microtransactions, I would definitely endorse virtual, PlayStation VR as an option, as another option. You want your first-person shooters, you got, Firewall. If you like the tactical type shooters, the Rainbow Six type shooters, if you want to get away from the bullshit on Rainbow Six with the season passes and and all the other bullshit ass microtransactions in there, yes, there is microtransactions in Firewall, but it's cosmetics, face paint and that kind of shit, clothing, camouflage clothing, that kind of shit, and a lot of it costs $1 to $3. So I don't have a problem with that because I would like to think that they are using that money to continue to support the game because they have given us a free map. They've given us a couple of extra operators, and added a couple of skills to the game. So I don't have a problem with that. So and these microtransactions, they're not pay to win type microtransactions. So it's not some egregious shit. So as far as racing goes, yeah, you could go with Drive Club, but I think with GT Sport, there's no egregious microtransactions in GT Sport. So there's your racing if you want to escape, bullshit. Spartan guy, Lincoln. Okay, how about this? Either you or Craig have a podcast called the Free Smoke Podcast, in which I switched the letters of the first person shooters. Hey, I mean, that would put me in a position where I would have to commit to a time every Sunday morning. But if Craig were to be open to something like that, I would definitely discuss it with him and see what we could come up with. Because when I do my own podcast, with my YouTube friends, there's always an open door policy. Craig, Sig, Thrash, Ryan, Ian, any of those guys are always welcome to come in whenever I'm doing a podcast. All they have to say is send me the link and boom, there it is. So yeah, with that being said, and I think I've done a lot of incredible podcasts with Craig. There've been some great podcasts with him. So yeah, I would definitely be open to that. But don't forget, he has his commitments too, because I think, he's a regular on the 60 Frames No Lag podcast. He's he'll be in RGT podcast with with Ryan, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets an invitation to the Gamer Couch podcast. So He said Craig and Foxy was funny as shit on the RGT podcast when he kept mentioning Xbox. Yeah, that's a touchy one right there because it sounds like both Ryan and Foxy are fed up with this so-called console war, but they reacted to it differently. Foxy was a little more animated about it, so yeah, it was funny. So let's get on to the subject here. And I guess just for no apparent reason, I decided to go to N4G from my phone. And the first headline that popped up was Activision charges $1 for a dot. And I'm like, what the hell? I mean, what the fuck do they pulled now? So I click on the article, and yes, they are charging $1 for reticle dots on your sights, on your gun sights. They are charging $1 for that dot that goes in the middle of your sights. And right now they're having a 50% sale where you can get that dot for 50 cents. But then it goes back up to $1 once the sale is off. Said, that shit just left me flabbergasted. Said Craig got some clever ass dissed for the community. Yeah, that's right, bruh. Yeah, I couldn't believe that shit. I mean, I didn't even finish reading the article. That was all I needed to see. $1 for a dot. So, I mean, that's got me wondering that, okay, does that mean that if you're new to the game, when you first fire the game up, all the guns are not going to have any dots? I didn't know that, Alabama Jones. I didn't know they always charge for these dots. You kidding me? Wow. The fucked up part about it is they probably is custom dots. The fucked up part is they're going to get away with it. They're going to get away with the shit. That's what's fucked up about it. I mean, I'm at a loss of words.
It's a simple drip. Simple drip. No, it's a simple drip.
Well, I guess I don't know. Maybe I should take that back then, Alabama Jones, because if it's a situation, see what I guess that's all my fault for not doing my homework, for not reading the complete article. The way the article started out, they gave me the impression that when you turn the game on and you finally buy, a site, that the dot wouldn't be included, that you would have to, that you would get a dot, you would get a site without a dot, and you would have to pay for it. But if it's like, some cosmetic shit or something like that, then I guess it's hard for me to get mad at them, because how do I look defending GT Sport, with their microtransactions, with cars only costing $1, and then blasting them, for charging $1 for a dot if it's, if it's cosmetics. If it's a situation where the sites don't come with 85% of the dots are free, okay, all right, I guess I have to take back what I said then.
How dare you make fun of the defaults? How dare you?
All right, note to self: read the complete article. Let me pull this back up, because like I said, the way they see, I got caught on some clickbait shit.
And I'll trap you.
Yeah. So actually, I did read the whole article. So let me read this. It said there's a new in-game purchase available for Call of Duty Black Ops 4, and is both funny and amazing at the same time. Activision has rolled out a new batch of in-game items that players can purchase in the black market, and one of the strange things for sale is a dot for $1. Nope, I'm not joking. It's a single dot that can be used as a reticle for the reflex gun sight. Check out the screen grab in of the open dot. So then I'll go to the next paragraph. It says, you see that long single dot on the left-hand side of the image? Yep, that's the item for sale. It's funny that Activision is even selling this dot, and it's even more amazing, we presume that some people are buying it. It's currently priced at 50 COD points, the equivalent of 50 cents. Given there's a limited, 50% sale happening right now until the 1st of 2019. Otherwise, it's a flat 100 COD points, the equivalent of $1 to acquire this dot. Are you surprised by this or not at all? More importantly, do you think people will actually pay money for a single dot? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. See, that article led me to believe that people were getting sites without a dot. So that was a clickbait article, and I fell for it. Because the article made no mention that, people get dots on their sites. The way they was like, nope, it's no joke, $1 for a dot, that kind of shit. They led me to believe that Activision took all the dots off of all the sites in the game, and now I'm going to start charging you to get them back. So, yeah, it definitely was a clickbait article, Spartan God. They got me, motherfuckers. Now I'm sitting here looking stupid. Because now that I know that was a clickbait article, if I sit here and blast Activision on this particular incident, I would be the pot calling the kettle black. So don't get me wrong, they still fucked up and they still do a lot of fucked up shit. But this one, I gotta eat crow on this one. He said you get COD points so fast that you never have to buy them. All right. My apologies to those who tuned into this podcast. You say blast Gran Turismo Sport anyway. Game is buns. If that's your way of saying the game is butt, no. Gran Turismo Sport is the best racing game out there. As far as I'm concerned, it's better than iRacing. It's way better than Forza. Any of the Forza games is way better than any of those games. It's better than Project Cars 2. It's better than F1 Racing. It has damage in a sense where you may not necessarily see it. I think it has damage where you might have a few scratches on the side of the car, but mostly the damage is within the suspension and that kind of stuff. Like if you hit a wall real hard, you'll see something light up on the left wheel or something like that, letting you know that you damaged that part of the car. Forza more like sleepsa. Yeah, exactly. But Alabama Jones, there's a trade-off between Forza and GT Sport. I think Forza, if they still stick with the formula, if they went back to the roots of Forza Motorsports 2, where if you slam into a wall, your car is all dinged up, windshield is cracked, the suspension is messed up, the car's pulling to the right, Forza Motorsports 2, you hit that wall real hard and you could hear, parts underneath the hood clunking and, shit would just be messed up. Now you fast forward to today with Forza Motorsport 7, if that damage, if that simulated damage is still there, that's cool. But the game is not enjoyable because of how dirty people race. People race so dirty on Forza. There's no racing etiquette whatsoever on Forza. I've had this happen to me before. I've said it before. A guy was in 12th place, and I slipstreamed him, and I got on the side of him and was getting ready to get past him, and the guy bumped me, like he hit me hard, knocked me clean off the track. And I was in last place by the time I got back on the road. At that point, I turned it off and said, I'm done with this game. I cannot. I like simulated racing games. I like realistic shit. And I cannot play a game like this and try to compete when everybody's trying to knock each other off the road. So I just can't do the Forza thing anymore. No, there's a difference between rubbing Alabama Jones and blatantly knocking somebody off the road, and that's what's happening with Forza.
Right now, I don't have any sniper ammo.
I mean, God, you know, like take I don't know if you guys are familiar with a YouTuber named Super GT. He does both Forza and GT Sport, and he it seems like at least once a week he's posting a video addressing dirty racers on Forza, and it's just like people just clearly trying to knock you off the road. They either like flat out, you know, hitting you on the side and knocking you off the race, or they coming behind you and clipping your bumper, trying to send you into a tailspin. They are dirty in that game. And see, and the thing about it is they don't understand, like, and another thing about the people on Forza, they don't understand that if you're fighting with another car for position, it actually slows you both down. You know, GT Sport, some people realize that, the real good racers, they realize that getting into a fight with another racer is only going to slow you down, and the people up front are going to get away from you. So the real smart ones, they work together. They slipstream each other to catch up to the lead car. And then once they catch up to them, then it's all out. You know what I mean? And then with the penalty system in place for GT Sport, it encourages clean racing. Jamal King, what's up? You know, like, you know, for instance, on in GT Sport, if you're on a long straightaway that's like 3-4 miles long, you slipstreaming somebody, and you know you're gonna pass them.
No, I didn't.
If the guy's trying to block you from getting through, Jamal Adams, what's up? If you flash the high beams on him, you know, telling him to let me through, if he practices racing etiquette and he, you know, and he knows he can't stop you from going through, he'll let you go through and then get behind you and slipstream you so he can stay with you. And then he's going to make his move. He's going to decide when he's going to pass you, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's still competitive, and these guys are still trying to beat each other, but they still practice racing etiquette at the same time. And they realize that bumping and grinding and shit like that, if you're in the middle of the pack and you bumping and grinding, you know, dog fighting it out for 9th place and that kind of shit, the people up front are going to get away from you and you'll never catch them. You have to, you know, you kind of have to, people work together on GT Sport. They work together. Yeah, hell, they even do it in NASCAR. They, you know, they work together. They push each other forward. If they're not slipstreaming each other, they're pushing each other's bumper, pushing each other to the front of the pack. But that bullshit on Forza, where they like deliberately knocking you off the road, there's a difference between paint swapping and deliberately knocking somebody off the road. And so that's one of the reasons why when I gave that Xbox to my nephew, I gave him Forza Motorsport 7 with it, because I just don't have any interest in playing the game anymore, because I want to be competitive. You know, this is racing, not the demolition derby. You know, I want to try to win the race, not get up on a car and then be prepared to hit the brakes if I suspect this guy going to try to knock me off the road. You said when it comes to racing games, I have to catch up. I mean, no way around it. You know, people don't care for that ghost shit on GT Sport, but it's, you know, I didn't care for it at first when I first got the game, but then when I got over the Forza and they was playing dirty over there, it made me appreciate it. Ian Robinson, the Packers playing the Lions means nothing. Neither one of them are going anywhere. mean, the Lions have been a shitty team ever since William Clay Ford bought them. So, William Clay Ford, when he bought that team, he brought an umbrella of losing with it. Whereas the Packers, they're used to winning. So whatever problems they had this year, I'm sure they're going to try to address it in the offseason. Because I think every year when the NFL starts out, as far as the NFC North goes, the Packers are usually the favorite to win it. They're favored to win it. It's basically their division to lose. Whereas the Lions, they are usually favored to finish in last place or second to last place. So, Fader Sherrod, how's it going? Ice Queen Gaming, how are you? He said, you've been to see your old house today and got upset. I was seeing a friend today. I'm really sorry to hear that. Alabama Jones, the Lions have always have talent, but it's a culmination of a lot of things why they continue to lose. One, you have an owner that doesn't want to, at least when William Clay Ford was alive, you had an owner who, would have a talented team but doesn't want to add to it. You also have the referees who are always working against the Lions. The referees are always fucking the Lions over. You have players that don't want to play for the Lions. They just there for a paycheck. Therefore, some of those players they're not really trying because they don't want to get hurt. They just want to get out of Detroit unscathed so they can go, get a free agent contract and go play somewhere else. You got a lot of shit going on in Detroit, and it's just and all that shit combined, man, they just cannot seem to shake that losing tradition. Jamal King, you said Drive Club, Project Cars 1 and 2. Are they both legendary? Grip, Wipeout Omega Collection. Actually, I picked that up last night, Jamal King, Wipeout Omega Collection, and I was playing that in VR, and I was going to do a stream, but my internet went out. So, but I'll give it a shot. After this stream is over, I will go back and try to play it again. Alabama Jones, they had two of the best players at the position, Sanders and Johnson. Now, in the case of Barry Sanders, the Lions, here's what the Lions would do during the Barry Sanders era. They would make it to the playoffs, right, under Wayne Fonts, a.k.a. Cocaine Wayne. And they would maybe finish up with a 10-6 record. They would get into the playoffs. And whatever the Lions' problem was, their glaring problems, rather than go out and get a marquee free agent to fill that position, the Lions would do one of two things. They would either go draft a person in the they would go draft a rookie to fill that void. And because the Lions, finished up with a 10-6 record, they finish up in the middle of the pack. So by the time they pick, the person that they really need is long gone. One of the other things that the Lions would do in free agency, they would go get a free agent who's well past his prime. The dude done had 38 knee operations and shit like that. And all the Lions are concerned about is being able to pay him, minimum wage. So, and then that guy, because he done had all these knee surgeries and shit like that, he's well past his prime. He's not what he used to be. The other thing that the Lions used to do is whenever they have a huge year, and like during the Barry Sanders era, the Lions would always send like 4, 5, 6 players to the Pro Bowl. So they had a good team. And what would the Lions do? Like take Chris Spielman, for instance. This dude played his ass off for the Lions, had a torn pectoral muscle, and people were asking, he was about to be a free agent, and people were asking him about, about the offseason. What about, a new contract? Whoop-de-whoop. He said, I'm not concerned about that right now. We trying to get to the playoffs. I don't want to talk about that crap. Offseason came. He became a free agent. The Lions didn't even make him an offer because they figured because of that torn pectoral muscle, he wouldn't pass anybody's physical, and he would have to come back to the Lions for way below his market value. But the Lions got a shock because the Buffalo Bills signed him to a 4-year, $8 million deal. And I'm like, this dude was the heart and soul of the Lions defense, and this is how you treat him? I was like, they deserve to lose. There was that kind of shit. Like, I was like fed up with the Lions. So that's the kind of shit you were dealing with, you know what I mean? And then and then I think under Jim Caldwell, I think the Lions were a decent team. But again, the couple of times that they did make it to the playoffs, the referees fucked them over when against Seattle and against Dallas. And then and see, the Lions was about to beat Dallas that game, but the referees fucked them over and made sure they lost that game because Dallas is America's team, So it was almost like they felt like the whole NFL country was waiting for America's team to get back to the Super Bowl. Because I think what they wanted to see a super match between Dallas and New England. So because of that kind of politics and bullshit like that, I barely watch the NFL anymore. Riyad Dewan said you played Star Blood Arena in VR. It's like a roller coaster ride. No question about that. That was one of the games that used to get me motion sick. And that was one of the games that I definitely had to play. Drink ginger ale before I played it. And it was free too. So definitely scooped it up. Fatal Sharad, they say they had a nerve to say wrestling is fake. I come to see that here in America, in American sports, Fatal Sharad, it doesn't matter what the sport is, whether it's hockey, NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, doesn't matter what the sport is. The referees, the commissions, all this shit, in my opinion, throughout the year, give these marquee teams favorable calls to make sure they get back to the championship. During the Kobe Bryant era, I think the referee helped him get some of his rings. The referees, because they've gotten some fucked up calls. They made some fucked up calls against other teams. They made some favorable calls and calls in favor of the Lakers to help him get some of those rings. MLB, Major League Baseball, God knows the umpires are always fixing these games to make sure that the Yankees get back to the World Series because,
You have another hand cannon?
I guess these organizations seem to think that as long as the marquee teams keep getting back to the championship, that's going to bring them the most revenue. Me, on the other hand, every time the Yankees go to the World Series, I don't even watch it anymore because I know the umpires fixed it for them to get there. In the NFL, the referees are working both conferences. In addition to the Patriots cheating, they have the referees helping them. And then over in the NFC conference, you have the referees trying to help Dallas get to the Super Bowl. Now, the NHL is a tricky one right there because I really don't know that much about what's going on. Whether the umpires, referees, or whatever, I don't know who the marquee team is supposed to be and whether the referees is helping them out or not. But right now in the NBA, the Lakers are rebuilding. Well, they were rebuilding, but now that LeBron is over there, and the Lakers are basically America's team as far as the NBA goes, I'm sure the referees are going to help them get back to the finals.
Don't I worry about it?
That's the thing that makes me sick about that kind of shit. You have teams like the Yankees, the New England Patriots, the LA Lakers. These teams have been historically good. And to me, a lot of times those teams could have gotten to the championships without the umpires' help or the referees' help, but they made sure it happened. you know, for TV revenue, and that shit makes me sick to my stomach.
You stole my turret.
One year, that year that the Lions, you know, a few years ago that the Lions lost to the Seattle Seahawks in the playoffs, the referees was fucking the Lions over so bad that I think halfway through the third quarter, the Lions just finally quit. And that's sickening, you know, when you go into a game and feeling like, you know, you're going up against that team and the referees. Shit, the Pistons had to do it. The bad boys, the Pistons went up against the referees for years because every time they was always running into the Boston Celtics into the playoffs with Robert Parrish and Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and all them motherfuckers. If you even sneezed on Bird wrong, they, you know, called a foul. So the Pistons went through bullshit for so many years trying to get past the Celtics before they finally broke through that goddamn wall. You know, and I mean, the bullshit that the referees was doing to the Pistons back then, I nearly quit watching the NBA because I couldn't take it anymore. Because the referees was just determined not to let the Pistons win. So, Ian Robinson, your dad is a huge Dolphins fan. Oh yeah, I mean,
you got me stuck. I couldn't move.
I probably say when I was a kid, a teenager, you know, my two favorite teams were the Detroit Lions and the Miami Dolphins. And then during them Dan Marino days, man, watching that dude play with that quick trigger, it was exciting to watch. So, but anyway, let's get back to some gaming. Let me go back to N4G, see if there's anything worth talking about there. Otherwise, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up soon.
Well, actually, I got him. No, I said that earlier.
Whoops. Let's see here. See here, PS5 and Xbox will likely have 8 to 12 gigs of RAM. Xbox exclusive games coming in 2019. What the hell? Let me see what we got. See what they talking about. I'm just going to scroll down. Crackdown 3, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, Gears 5, Battletoads, Forza Motorsports 8. Oh my God. So how does that lineup sound to people? Arian Drake, what's up? All right, so let me go back to this. Let me go back to this page. Tell you what I think of them. Crackdown 3. I would not be surprised if this game is trash. I've said it before. I don't think a lot of people plan on buying this game. I think the situation with Crackdown 3, I think it's a situation where the Xbots are just glad that Microsoft finished this game because they were taking heat for so many years for the delays and the delays and the delays and the garbage ass looking gameplay that they showed where it looked like some old 360 shit. They were taking so much heat for that shit, and I think the Xbox was really like on the verge of crying, like, "No, you guys are always beating on Crackdown 3." And so I think the way they treating Crackdown 3, the way I feel about it, it's almost like I said it before, like a marathon runner who broke his leg in the race. They don't care that he came in last place. All they care about is that he showed that gut and that grit and that spirit and finished the race. Now I think that's the way they treating Crackdown 3. I don't think they have any intentions of buying that game. I think they know the shit is a high probability that shit's going to be garbage. It's not going to be anything like what they originally advertised in terms of the destructible environment and all the other kind of shit. I think they are just glad that Microsoft finished the game so people can stop jumping on their heads about it. You know, so I think that's all. I think they just glad that Microsoft finished the game. They just glad that Microsoft finished the race. So, so let's see. Let's take a look at the next one. This Ori and the Will of the Wisp. Have no interest in it. I don't. In the story. It's a platformer. It's a cute looking game, but nothing I'm interested in. And it sure is, you know, and you know, damn near a kitty looking game. And nothing that I would drop $500 for the Xbox One X for. Gears 5. Oh God. Now this one right here, I have no interest in Gears 5 whatsoever. You know, something's eating that Kate, something's bothering her. She on her period and shit and forgot her tampon. And she got to go back out in the woods and make it right. And I've got to fix this. I've got to make this right. And, you know, then not only that, it's a damn fashion show, because if anybody noticed, she got fur on her fucking Gears armor. She got I'm looking at this picture. It's got a fur collar. It's got the wrists, got fur around them. You know, got fur coming out the elbows. So, you know, so she basically got, you know, a fur coat on. So, so it's a little bitty funky fashion show right there. You know, all the while, you know, like I said, she forgot her tampon. She on her period. So she got to get out there and find out what's wrong and make it right. So no, I have no interest in that. But assuming that, but I will have the game because my son wants the game. And because of the share feature, I will have the game. I don't know if I will play it because I haven't even played the campaign on Gears 4. I have Gears 4 and haven't played the campaign on it. I watched my son go through the campaign like a couple of times. So I have no interest in playing it. Next up, Battletoads. Now, I have no idea what the fuck this game is about. So let me read this article real quick. In a surprising development, Microsoft Studios announced plans to release Battletoads on the Xbox One with body morphing genre mashups, 3-player couch co-op, 4K hand-drawn 2.5D graphics, and broad, non-specific feature declaration. Announced at E3 2018, the studio's Battletoad game is being developed by Delilah Studios, though it's unclear if it's going to be a 4K port of the original 1991 side-scroller or a brand new game. Regardless of what it ends up being, we're certainly excited to get our hands on it. I have no idea what that is. Cyber Dragon, what is going on? How you doing there, sir? And lastly, we have Forza Motorsports 8. Let me read this article anyway. Even though it hasn't been announced yet, it seems like a foregone conclusion that Microsoft Studios will release another Forza game, specifically Forza Motorsports 8, in late summer, early fall of 2019. There's been an annual Forza game ever since Forza Motorsports 4 released in 2011, with Playground Games Forza Horizon 4 being 2018's installment. What goes into Forza Motorsport 8 and what racetrack it includes remains to be seen, but it seems safe to assume that it will be on the Xbox One exclusive games in 2019. While Forza Motorsports 8 is the only game from the aforementioned 5 titles that hasn't been confirmed, it's again a foregone conclusion. However, Halo Infinite, as well as other major titles, isn't expected to release in 2019, which is why it hasn't been included on the list of Xbox One exclusive games coming in 2019. If that changes, though, we will be sure to update this article, so stay tuned. Forza Motorsports 8.
Thanks for that pistol.
My God.
Okay, jeez, I'm kidding. Wait, wrong.
You know, when the next iteration of GT Sport or whatever it is comes out, you know, presumably for the PS5, It's probably going to look noticeably better than the current GT Sport, which looks amazing already. But other than that, I just don't know how much more you can include to make this game distinctive, from the current GT Sport. But one thing is for certain, with my belief that there is going to be a VR multiplayer on the next iteration of GT, that adds a different twist to the game, and one that will give the game a ton of replay value. So, but what are you going to do in Forza Motorsports 8 that separates it from Forza Motorsports 7?
Don't worry, it's faster to go in planes.
The only reason why I even got Forza Motorsports 7 is because my Xbox friends had that moment where they was trying to stir up some nostalgia and take us all the way back to the days of when we used to play Forza Motorsports 2. And I told them I had no interest in buying that game. So one of my friends gifted me, he gifted me the game, but I didn't get down like that, so I paid him the money back for the game. So I paid him the money back for the game. We probably played Forza for about a week and then it was dead. Because that's basically what happened to our Xbox crew. It was it had got to a point, especially during that phase where we were all burning our own games, or they were getting the games from me, whatever the case may be, because before they learned to do their own shit, they was getting the games from me, because only me and my friend in Rhode Island were the only ones out of our crew who knew how to burn games. So once it got to the point where everybody was doing their own shit, it was like we weren't even playing together anymore. Everybody would burn a game, play it for about 5 minutes. Yo, man, y'all check this game out, but nobody would ever get around to it. That took us down a road that there was no coming back from. Ever since that shit, it had never been the same with my Xbox boys. So, and then, after a few years, it became apparent that the only thing they played was the fucking My Court on 2K. And they wasn't playing anything else. And that was the one thing that pretty much solidified me, just like, hey, I'm like, whatever. I'm playing games for me now. I'm done, buying games that I'm not certain about, so I can play them with my friends, just so the game can be old news after about 3 days. I'm like pretty much done with that shit.
Yeah. Is it this chair?
Jamal King, you said you're talking about the Tekken producer. Harada takes over Bandai Namco esports strategy team and promises tournaments with Dragon Ball Fighter Z's and more. Cool. So I've been on for about an hour, and I want to do some game streams, and again, I want to apologize yesterday, because after I got done playing Beat Saber, it was my intention to come back with another game stream, but I didn't realize how much that shit wore me out. That's my son in the background playing Fortnite. But so anyway, I got done playing Beat Saber yesterday. I laid on the bed for about 5 minutes. When I woke up, it was 5 in the morning. And by then, I wasn't able to do any game streams anyway, because that's when I started experiencing internet problems anyway. So, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I want to reiterate to everybody that if you are over 40 years old and you have a long day planned for you, do not start your day off playing Creed, Beat Saber, Spark games of those natures, because if you play those games for about an hour, when you get done playing, you're going to be so worn out that if you sit down and close your eyes for 2 seconds, that's it. Your day is over. So make games like Beat Saber, Creed, those kind of things. Make those games last on your list, so you can wrap the night up.
Stalking.
It said, Clay, will you do Beat Sabers before 6 hours? I'm 6 to 8 hours ahead of you. So damn.
You don't know how to spell.
Oh my goodness. Let me see. It's 2:00 now.
See you later. They're illegal. You're illegal.
So if I do it within 6 hours, it's power and have sound like a must to play those. Absolutely, Cyber Dragon. To play those games, you have to be well rested. Because if you haven't gotten your rest and you play those games, it's over. The minute you sit down, it's over. So if you got a day where you want to play a lot of shit, play all those other games first. Because the minute you play Creed or Beat Saber, it's over. Your day's over. And Mr. Pyle, yes, I will try to play Beat Saber within that time frame that you're asking.
Okay, never mind.
So it'll be more closer to the 8-hour mark, but yeah, I will do it.
What do you mean it's not working?
You said you're almost done with Journey Mode and Tetris Effect. That was another game that I thought about. So, hey, Cyber Dragon, it's like, I'm sitting around thinking like, what game should I play? What game should I play? And then, and I got the Mr. Pyle, Mr. Pump, and I got the songs from, from Beat Saber going through my head. And I'm like, man, I'm feeling it right now. I'm feeling it. And I jump up and go play it. And next thing you know, I'm on there for about 2 hours. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down for a second, cool down, get an ice cold drink, whatever. Next thing you know, I wake up and it's the middle of the night. And then at that point, there's nothing for me to do except, set the alarm clock and get ready to go to work in the morning. So yeah, Jakku, what is up, Mr. VR? Was sick gone until March. I only watch you and Ryan basically. Hey, I really appreciate that, Mr. Pyle. And I don't know if you missed that, but I think until Sick comes back, I think that I'm going to go ahead and do some Sunday morning podcasts. And just recap on everything that happened during the week. Try to have about a 1-hour podcast until Sick comes back. So this is not me trying to replace him. This is just like with him taking a break until March. That actually works for my schedule a little bit because, because with me being committed to the PlayStation Plus podcast and the Roundtable and the possibility of me being on the Gamer Couch podcast, it was going to make it tough for me to have my own podcast during the week. So, let me see. Jakku said, "Are you play JRPGs?" I don't know. I don't know. I guess you have to throw some of them at me, and I don't know. I mean, as far as like what I consider a Japanese role-playing game, the one that's on my list for 2019, if you want to throw it in that category, is Shenmue 3.
Yeah, floating. From my screen, you're not. From my screen,
So, but as I was saying, Mr. Pyle, when I do these, podcasts on Sunday mornings until Sick gets back, it's not going to be a concrete time. It's going to be a situation where I'll do it when I wake up. Now, I've never played Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Tales of Hysteria, any of those games. And these are games I've never been into these games before. So the only way I would try these games is if I'd have to, it would have to be a situation where I would catch it at a flash sale where it's super dirt cheap, where somebody can let me borrow theirs or something. Yeah, that's pretty much what it's going to be about, Mr. Pyle. Just, recapping of everything that happened the whole week, giving my opinions on what happened the whole week, and then you guys chime in and give me your thoughts on how you feel about what happened the past week. So, so this is going to be our podcast, not mine, so that's Misi. What's up? So again, I recap on everything that happened during the week. I give my thoughts, and then I'll listen to you guys, how you guys feel about it. And that'll be the best way to keep the podcast going because it's only so much that I can say.
Pew, pew. Wait, did that actually?
So again, the only catch is, I could do this podcast moving forward. I could do this podcast as early as 8 in the morning. It could be as late as 1 o'clock. It all depends on when I wake up. All right, we'll catch you later, Ian. And so just to recap what's going on with Sick, he's going to shut it down until March. He's working a ton of hours, crazy hours, and he's working on his music too.
Okay, bye guys.
So like I said, and until he comes back, I'll do some Sunday morning podcasts, and then when he comes back, I'll figure out what I'm gonna do, and because when he comes back, if my own schedule is jam packed, then I'm gonna have to scale back on my own podcast, because don't forget, I'm still, since I'm getting back into the gym tomorrow, I think Monday, Wednesday, and probably Thursdays are going to be my workout days. So that will free me up to do the roundtable podcast on Tuesdays and Fridays. And then if I'll do a podcast on Sunday, and then like on Tuesdays and Fridays before the roundtable podcast, so since those are going to be my day off. Monday's chess day. Monday is National Chess Day. So I'm always going to do chess on Mondays. So tomorrow I'm going to hit chest, triceps, and shoulders. Wednesday I'm going to hit back and bicep, and then Fridays I'm going to do legs. I'm done squatting because my knees are shot. So it'll be leg exercises, but it won't be any squatting. So hell no, I'm not gonna be squatting 300 pounds and shit like that and fuck around, blow my leg out. I hate doing legs. Take that back. Thursday would be the leg day if I do it on Thursday. I wanted to do it. I used to do it on Friday because then I would have the whole weekend to recover, because it's not fun walking around on those legs hurting like that all fucking day. Jaku, you said you wish you could join the roundtable podcast, but my phone sucks for that. Yeah, I know. It's not just your phone; it's everybody's phone, because using the Google Hangouts, the only way you can really join a podcast from the phone, it's almost like somebody has to make a direct phone call to you. Hell no. I mean, 705 pounds? Fuck no. The guy that taught me how to deadlift, no, I'm not gonna skip leg day. I'm just saying I'm not squatting anymore because my knees are shot. But the guy who taught me how to deadlift, I seen him squat like 800 and something pounds, and that bar was bending so much, I'm like, damn, this shit look like it's gonna snap on him. Fatal Sharad, you said you should join the roundtable more often, but who gives a damn about what you have to say? I don't think it's a case about nobody caring about what you have to say. It's like everybody's talking over each other, so it's hard to get a word in. So a lot of times that I'm there in the roundtable, I'm just sitting there watching everybody else talk, and I pick and choose my moments when I say something. Yep, you're absolutely right, Mr. Pyle. There's a ton of other exercises I can do without squatting. So that is going to be my regimen moving forward.
Let's fight here, I guess.
So
hey, does anyone want privileges?
It's mostly a few individuals that dominate the conversation. Yeah, I mean,
you don't need privileges.
But when we get into one of those subjects that everybody wants to chime in, that's when we got everybody talking over each other. And like I said, I pick and choose my moments when I'm going to say something. So a lot of times, excuse me, I feel like, if I'm having a hard time talking and the subject is really serious, I'll say something. I'll get in where I fit in, as the saying goes. But for the most part, I'll save a lot of my thoughts for my own podcast and come back and do it then. But but I try to find a happy median to say enough that my presence is there, but don't try to take over the shit. So that's why I pick and choose my moments when I say something.
Only me, jeez, get out. Knock him off.
Mr. Pyle, you have no idea what the round table is. Ha ha ha. You just watched Sick, Ryan, and Clay. Hey, I appreciate being included in with YouTubers of that magnitude. I appreciate being mentioned in the same breath with those guys. That's I'm humbled by that. My thoughts on Persona 5 for the PS4 announced. I've never played any of the Persona games. They do have a Persona VR experience where you can dance if you want. $60. You can get, the VR, Persona 5 VR or Persona VR, whatever it is, and you can dance. Vado, you said you think you're going to start doing the same thing during your own live streams? So, like take for instance that Soldier Boy thing. That subject was so hot, and everybody was getting their thoughts in on it. And I had a lot to say about that Soldier Boy shit. And there was no way I was going to be able to get my thoughts in on the round table, because basically I would have been the one trying to take over. If I would have been saying everything that I wanted to say, it would have looked like I was trying to take over. So I'd say a word here, a word there, a word here. But then, but I know that in order for me to get everything out that I want to say, I would have to do it during my own podcast. I don't do drama. That's big. You actually play games. Video games is my escape. And now, don't get me wrong. When I first came to YouTube, I came to YouTube to do both, to express my love of video games and to express my disdain for Microsoft, because I think Microsoft are one of the things that's bad for gaming. Activision, EA, Bethesda, Rockstar, if you want to include them. I think these guys are all bad for gaming because of their egregious shit that they do. But I think, lately, if you've been noticing my podcast over the past couple of months, I haven't really been bashing Microsoft all that much. And it's because the fun that I'm having playing these PlayStation exclusives in these VR games, the fun that I'm having there far outweighs my disgust for Microsoft. So rather than me sitting there always being disgusted with Microsoft, no, I'm having a wonderful time playing these games. That feels much, much better to enjoy myself playing these games than to sit around boiling all fucking day about something Microsoft did. You said you just streamed on your channel every now and then? I mean, Cyber Dragon, you gonna put out more stuff, or? Because if you're gonna Cyber Dragon here, let me just a minute, let me go to your channel. There, I just subscribed to your channel, Cyber Dragon. I definitely would like to get your take on whatever's going on that week, whatever's going on that week, that day, whatever, I definitely like to get your opinion. Samuel Ashley, you said I hated Sony back then. Why? Now, well, see, the Sega Dreamcast was my favorite console. And when they folded up, I didn't care for Sony, not because of a dislike for them. I just liked the Sega Dreamcast more. And then I felt like Microsoft was taking something that Sega started and stole it, and they were building on something that the Sega had created with SegaNet and online gaming. But the thing that two things made me really dislike Sony is I think Sony was pulling bullshit where they was creating these false shortages, and that would drive up demand, and people would go fucking nuts to get a hold of one of the consoles. I mean, because people was breaking their fucking necks to get the PlayStation 2, because I think it was the first gaming console to have a DVD player in it. And I think supposedly there was a shortage. I think I can't remember. Some people can look it up, get the receipts, whatever. But I think there was what the word was back then that supposedly a warehouse had caught on fire that contained a bunch of chips in it that was used for the PS2, and that caused a shortage of consoles during the launch. So I'm like, I don't believe that shit. I felt like that was a false shortage. Not to mention that towards the end of the PS1 generation, I was already beginning to get disgusted with them because of the memory card situation. It seemed like any game that you wanted to play, it seemed like you needed 15 memory cards to be able to save all your progress on those games. And it was pissing me off. And then it wasn't until the aftermarket people started making memory cards that you only needed one memory card, for multiple games. But when you bought the official Sony memory cards, it seemed like you needed 7 or 8 cards for one game. I was like, this is no bullshit. I had 3 memory cards for Metal Gear, for the first Metal Gear game, and I had to mark each memory card so I knew where I was at, so I wouldn't have to, play the shell game and guess which one was which. So I was disgusted with that shit. I was disgusted with Sony creating a false shortage with the PS2, and then at the beginning of the PS3 generation, I was disgusted with them for being arrogant and launching a console for $600. I was thinking to myself, do they think their product is that fucking hot that somebody gonna jump up and pay $600 for that shit? So at the beginning of the PS3 generation, I actually wanted Microsoft to destroy them until Microsoft revealed themselves to be an even bigger monster than Sony. Microsoft revealed what kind of monster they was when the way they handled that red ring situation and the way they handled that situation with the 360 scratching rings into people's disc.
What do you mean?
Man, 2005, you had to get a third-party memory card. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, shit, Fatal Charade, I love the Saturn, but I think, in terms of how much I was enjoying it back then, the Dreamcast might be my all-time favorite console. I had so much fun. The original UFC game, the very first UFC game came out on the Sega Dreamcast, which I think might be one of the all-time best UFC games to this very day. I enjoyed playing the 2K games online when that shit belonged to Sega. The 2K football, the 2K basketball, 2K baseball, 2K hockey. I enjoyed all that shit when it belonged to Sega. I mean, I wasn't even I was working third shift and I was only going to work on like 2 hours of sleep and shit because of how tired I was from playing 2K all day on the Dreamcast. Quake 3 Arena was another one of my favorite games. You said once Dreamcast. Yeah, the Dreamcast and the PS4 are probably my 2 favorite consoles of all time. I enjoyed Quake 3 Arena on the Dreamcast, and it was crossplay. You could play with people on the PC, but they were murdering me because broadband, as we know it today, was the new service because the Dreamcast was functioning on dial-up. So people that were on current broadband, they were murdering me. They were telling me I was looking like I was moving in slow motion. There was another game called Alien Front Online that I absolutely enjoyed for the Dreamcast. I mean, the first Rainbow Six game that I bought was on the Dreamcast. So yeah, I mean, the Dreamcast and the PS4 are probably my 2 all-time favorite consoles. Yeah, I mean, people talk about how Sega never recovered from, what they did with the Saturn, where I guess the only games you could play on the Saturn was Sega games, and they wouldn't let any third-party shit on there. So I don't know, but I did like the Saturn. Because I'd probably say on the Saturn, probably the first Virtual Fighter was my favorite game on the Saturn. All right. Sega ran themselves out of hardware space. You know, hey, if Sega ever did decide to come back to the console space, I would buy it. Their console don't need to have the most power. But I would like them to price it accordingly, though.
Why did everyone leave?
I mean, if Sega came out with a console tomorrow and it only did, 1080p, then I would like them to price it accordingly. Should the N64, the NES, PS2, PS1. Ja, cool. Okay, I feel you. Yeah, you said literally no one had an Atari Jaguar when it came out. I'm not even familiar with that. Keep in mind, people that I think. See, I had an Atari 5200. Because I had a lot of consoles. I had a Telstar. My parents gave me our first console. My parents gave me my first console in 1977. It was a Telstar with the tennis, the Pong, and all that shit on there. And then we got an Atari 2600 and we got an Atari 5200. I had friends that had, the ColecoVision and, and I absolutely loved Intellivision. I couldn't get enough of that. And then after that, I think when I hit my late teens, from the years between, 18 and I probably say 18 and 27 years old, I was out in them streets chasing women and doing dumb shit. So I had got away from the video scene, during those years. So it was like almost 10 years that I kind of got away from the video scene. And I didn't come back to video games, until the Sega Genesis came out. Then once the Sega Genesis came out, then I kind of got back into gaming and, somewhat stayed there ever since. I'm probably going to be a fucking 80-year-old gamer, if that's unless these third-party developers just destroy gaming altogether. Because that's what they're trying to do with these fucking microtransactions. I mean, they just trying to bleed the shit out of everything. So you said Jaguar was after Genesis. I mean, I remember that Atari came out with the 7200 or the 7600 or something like that. But Cyber Dragon, you older than me? I'm 51 years old. You 54? And here I was calling myself the godfather of gaming. Alabama Jones, you said that Atari was a 7800. Yeah. Ice Queen Gaming, you're 38 years old. All right. Cyber Dragon, you 54. Damn. Yeah, so much for me calling myself the godfather of gaming. Samuel, you own the Atari, NES, Super Nintendo, PS1, 2, 3, 4, Xbox 360, X1, GameCube, Wii U, Switch, Neo Geo, Sega Master System, and the Genesis. Good Lord. All those games that you're talking about, Samuel, your parents must have got you a lot of those systems. Jaku, you said you're the youngest in here. Jamal King is 28. Alabama's 38. Socrates is 46. Spartan guy was born in 3 BC. You lucky they didn't throw you over a cliff as savage as those Spartans was back then. Oh my goodness. So you live in Cincinnati along with big money? Yeah, I've been to Cincinnati before. Matter of fact, I was in Cincinnati for an Adrian Broner fight. I saw him fight, And it was crazy. You know, I came out of that stadium where, you know, Adrian Broner fought, and then you see and right behind it was the stadium where the Cincinnati Reds play. And look, you know, and I'm looking through this gate and seeing that huge ass stadium, you know, at like 11 o'clock at night with all the lights turned off. It just looks spooky as hell. Said Lincoln Clay, 2019 is a new gaming year. El Matador, what is up? Yeah, Players United. I think, you know, I hate to say it. I think Sony, I think probably might be the only. They might be the only ones that's going to make 2018 a good year. I mean, earlier I just read off what Microsoft has planned for 2019, and I'm not, you know, none of those games are on my radar. I mean, I will end up with Gears 5 just for the simple fact that my son wants it. And then, you know, because he's, you know, because I'll be buying it from him and because of the share feature, I'll have the game too. But I'm not exactly looking forward to it. So I'm not looking forward to anything that Microsoft has planned for 2019. But I'm, you know, out of all the shit that out of all the shit that Sony has planned for 2019, actually Death Stranding is at the bottom of my list out of all those games. I'm more looking forward to Days Gone, Ghost of Tsushima, and The Last of Us 2. You know, Death Stranding is at the bottom of the list for all the games that I'm looking forward to in 2019 as far as Sony goes. Yeah, Spartan God, what year doesn't Sony make, you know, gaming worth enjoying? It's Death Stranding is my #1 overall game, Mr. Pie. I don't argue with that. I'm going to get the game. I'm just saying, out of all those games that I mentioned, Death Stranding is at the bottom of my list. You know, The Last of Us is at the top of that list. You know, Ghost of Tsushima is a close second. You know, and I think, you know, Days Gone could be the dark horse out of all of them. So, yeah, Matador, you know, Gears 5 looks like another Gears, and it don't, you know, and it doesn't look like, you know, as far as graphics goes, it really don't look much different than Gears 4. And then don't forget, I'm still looking forward to some VR games. I'm still looking forward to Blood and Truth, Ace Combat 7. I'm still looking forward to Shenmue 3, along with the other hitters they got coming. So I think 2019 is going to be another amazing year. So it's like when this generation is over, I think people going, like, a good question that you can ask people is, what year did Sony have the best games? 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. I think that's going to be a question you'll be able to like ask people what year did they have the best games for this generation, and people will like actually have to sit and think about it for a second, because this year was an amazing year. God of War, Detroit Become Human, Spider-Man. You know, Shadow of the Colossus. I'm not going to say that was a sleeper, because people was hyped for it and they was happy with the game. So no, that game wasn't a sleeper. You know, it was a good, you know, I played it for a split second. Impatient Fire, what is up? You said it took you no time to say 2017. 2017 was epic for Sony. You know what? I think they had both Uncharted 4 and Uncharted Lost Legacy in there. I think
actually jump if you can hear me.
Sarah's is great. What is up?
I guess not.
Not much. You know, the things that I touched on, this podcast is about. Sarah's is great. I only talked about them for a split second. You know, Activision is charging $1, you know, for a cosmetic microtransaction, but the article that I read, they made it seem like it was a pay-to-win microtransaction. Like, you know, Activision removed all the dots from the gun sites and you had to pay to get them back. You know, that's the way this article made it sound. It was some clickbait shit, and I'm embarrassed that I fell for it. I'm embarrassed that I'm having this podcast talking about the shit. And then with Sick, Sick is going to shut it down until March, because he's going to be working a lot of hours, and he's working on his music as well. So he said the PlayStation Plus podcast will be fired back up in March. And so I think, in the meantime, I think that works out for me a little bit, because that gives me a little bit more room to breathe in terms of all the podcasts that I'm going to be in. So I think starting next week, I'm going to do a Sunday morning podcast. It'll happen just whenever I wake up. So whenever I wake up, I'll do a podcast, and we'll do a recap on the week's events. So, and
Okay, where are we going?
So that's to fill you in real quick, on what you missed. So holy smokes, this has been an hour and a half. Damn. So with that being said, I'm going to get ready to shut it down so I can go do a stream. I did try that Wipeout Omega collection. It's an okay game, but I think, for $6, it's a can't miss. Based on what I played of the game so far, I give it a 7. Oh, I'm definitely going to do some VR streams, because I'm planning on streaming that Wipeout Omega collection as soon as I'm done with this podcast, Mr. Pyle. I'm definitely going to do some streams, but in terms of Beat Saber, I'll do that when I'm ready to end my night, because if I do it now, if I were to do Beat Saber right now, it's over. As soon as I get done with it and I lay down in that bed, I won't wake up until it's time to take my son home. So I gotta, pick and choose my moments when I do these Creed and Beat Saber streams moving forward. If I don't want my night to end, I have to wait and let those games close the show for me. Gravity Rush 2 took a hit because Sony had too many games in January. Yeah, that was a huge problem, last year and this year, because Shenmue was one of the games that I was worried about that was going to get swallowed up in all the releases that Sony had coming out. It was going to get caught in the middle of that whirlwind. So I was actually cool with Shenmue getting delayed. Yes, I'm looking forward to the game, but I didn't want it to get ate up in all the other shit that was going on. So with that being said, I'm gonna get ready to go ahead and close shop so I can get ready to head on over to this PlayStation, fire up this VR, and stream something. So I think I'm gonna do Wipeout Mega collection, but don't expect a very long stream from that, half hour, 45 minutes. And then I'm gonna move on to something else. I don't know. I kind of been having Tetris Effect on my mind lately. And I want to give Firewall another shot and hope that I get on with a good team. Do I do Arizona Sunshine? I've been debating about whether to buy that game or not, Fatal Charade, because the game is on sale for like $12. So I definitely been, I might go back and pick it up. And if I do, I'll do a stream. Okay, can you Fatal Charade, can you do co-op on that game? I mean, you realize if I get it, I'll be getting it for the PlayStation. So is that something we can play together? Okay, but still, I'll look into it. So Edge Magazine gave Red Dead Game of the Year, but God of War wasn't in the top 10. Another person that was probably paid off by Microsoft. I mean, it is what it is, Microsoft got buy-off money set to the side so they can pay people to praise their shit. The games, some of the games are garbage, but they got, people. They got, like I said, they got praise money set to the side so they can pay YouTubers and journalists and shit like that to praise their garbage. So I mean, the way some of these people was praising Sea of Thieves was ridiculous. But so they got paid off by Microsoft. Anyway, let me go ahead and they gave Tetris Effect PS4 Game of the Year. Okay, I mean, I ain't gonna argue with that. It is a fun game, but God of War is supposed to be Game of the Year across any platform. So, so you must got Arizona Sunshine for Oculus or Rift, or Oculus or Vive or something. So you got it for PC then. Okay. But again, I'll look into it and see about doing a stream on it. But with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. And get ready to hop on over here on this PlayStation VR. So I'll see you guys when I get ready to do the stream over there. I'm gonna plan on starting out with a Wipeout Omega collection and go from there. So you guys know the drill. Give it a like. Like to do it on the way out. I appreciate everybody joining me on this Sunday. And then we'll see you when I get ready to jump on this PlayStation. Thanks everybody for coming to Wakanda. I will holler at y'all later.